Arsenal FC versus Tottenham Hotspur, also known as the North London Derby, is the biggest rivalry in London, and surely one of the biggest in England and even the entire world of football. This one is a real neighbouring rivalry, with the current stadiums of both teams, the Emirates Stadium and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, being only 4 miles from each other. But regardless of the proximity, these two teams and their supporters hardly ever see eye to eye. That is why it is pretty much a capital offence when a player moves between these two clubs. Sol Campbell knows all about that. He moved from Spurs to Arsenal in 2001, and till date, Spurs fans won't stop calling him Judas, regardless of the fact that he served them for longer than he served Arsenal. But there have also been other players like David Bentley, William Gallas, Emmanuel Adebayor, among others, who have dared to play for both sides of the divide. Every North London derby is a very important game, whether it comes in the Premier League, a domestic cup, in Europe, or even a friendly, it doesn't matter. Bragging rights are always at stake, so nobody ever wants to lose. But it would appear that Arsenal has had more bragging rights over the years, cause they have won more North London derbies than Spurs. The rivalry between these two neighbouring Premier League clubs is over 100 years old, having started in 1913. Since then, they have met each other 204 times, with Arsenal winning 84 of those games and Spurs winning 67. But of course, bragging rights are not down to just the games they play against each other. As a fan, you want your club to be more successful than your main rivals. You want your players to win more individual awards than your rivals. Even if you don't win the league, you want to finish above your rivals. Sometimes, even stuff like match attendance and the financial situation of the clubs can be used as a source of banter between rival fans. So, let's check out how each of these teams do when compared with each other using some of these metrics. First of all, in Europe, they have pretty much the same pedigree. They have both played in the UEFA Champions League final, but have never won it. They, however, won the now defunct UEFA Cup Winners' Cup once each. Spurs edge Arsenal slightly in Europe though, having won the UEFA Europa League twice. Arsenal, on the other hand, are yet to win that trophy despite making it to 2 finals. One more thing before we leave Europe, the UEFA Club Coefficient Ranking. In case you don't know what that is, it is basically a statistic used to seed teams in UEFA club competitions. And considering the fact that Arsenal are currently in the Europa League and Spurs are playing in the Champions League this season, it should not be very surprising that Tottenham have a higher coefficient than their rivals, but it is higher by just 1 point. Now that we're done with Europe, let's head to England. Of course, we'll start with the Premier League, or First Division as it was called before 1992. Tottenham Hotspur have won that trophy on just 2 occasions, none in the Premier League era though. Arsenal, however, have won it a total of 13 times, but just 3 of them came in the Premier League era. And of course, we just have to add that Arsenal are the only team in Premier League history to have gone an entire season without losing a single game. That is surely one major source of bragging rights that Arsenal fans have over Spurs. And frankly, over every other team in England. Now to the FA Cup. Tottenham Hotspur have won that 8 times. That's pretty impressive, but surely not as impressive as their rivals who have won it a record 14 times, half of those trophies coming in the 21st century. Spurs, though, have not won any FA Cup since the turn of the millennium. But despite being the club with the most FA Cup wins in history, Arsenal have managed to win only 2 League Cups, while Spurs have won 2 times that number. Finally, for domestic trophies, the FA Community Shield. Arsenal have won that 16 times while Spurs have won it 7 times. Even though many English fans don't like to count the Community Shield as a major trophy, we're still pretty sure that Arsenal fans banter Spurs fans with this one. Let's now move away from the trophies they have won and look at the best players over the years and what they have achieved compared to each other. Before moving on, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, let us know in the comments which teams we should focus on in our next video. We should start from the fact that Spurs players have won the Premier League Golden Boot in the last 2 seasons. However, it is an Arsenal player, Thierry Henry, who has won the most Golden Boot awards in the history of the Premier League. Henry is also one of the players with the most Player of the Season awards, but Kane is one of just 2 players with the most Player of the Month awards in the league. Kane holds the record for most Premier League goals in a calendar year and most goals for a single club, while Henry is one of just 2 players to have scored 20+ goals in 5 consecutive seasons, and recorded the most assists in a single Premier League season. But of course, those are not the only 2 players these clubs have. Jermaine Defoe holds the record for most goals scored in one half of a Premier League game after he scored 5 against Wigan back in 2009. Meanwhile, Ian Wright and Robin van Persie, both of Arsenal, share the record for most teams scored against in a single Premier League season with 17. Then of course, we have Ozil with the record for most consecutive Premier League games with an assist. While that deadly Spurs duo of Kane and Son hold the record for most goals and assists between two players. But one very record that very much unites Spurs and Arsenal players is the record for most assists in a single Premier League game. Emmanuel Adebayor and Harry Kane both did it for Spurs, while Dennis Bergkamp, Jose Antonio Reyes, Cesc Fabregas, and Santi Cazorla did it for Arsenal. To the shot stoppers. Both these clubs have had some really great goalkeepers over the years, but no Spurs goalkeeper has ever won the Premier League Golden Glove Award, while two Arsenal goalkeepers have won it: Cech and Szczęsny. Spurs players have won the Premier League Golden Boot 5 times, including the very first award that was handed out in 1993 to Teddy Sheringham. Arsenal players, however, edge that slightly, having won the Golden Boot a total of 6 times. Only one Spurs player has been named Premier League Player of the Season, and that was Gareth Bale in 2014, while Arsenal players have been named Player of the Season 4 times. But when it comes to PFA Players Player of the Year, Arsenal and Spurs players have won it a total of 5 times each. Now, we know that neither of these teams have won the Premier League in close to 2 decades, so they banter each other with who finishes above the other on the table. And in the last 6 seasons, Spurs have finished above Arsenal on the Premier League table. In their most recent meeting, which was in May, Spurs won 3-0, after losing 3-1 to Arsenal earlier in the season. And if you want to talk about recent form, then you would have to say that they're evenly matched. Yes, Arsenal currently sit at the top of the Premier League table while Spurs are in third, but they both have won 4 of their last 5 Premier League games. While Arsenal have only dropped points in 1 Premier League game this season, Spurs can boast of being just one of 2 clubs in the league who are yet to lose a game. Now, going into the first North London derby of the new season, only 1 point separates the 2 rivals at the top of the table, so when they meet in October, they won't just be fighting for bragging rights, they'll also be fighting for a place at the summit of the Premier League table. So, who then is going to get that spot come 1st of October? Let us know your predictions in the comments. But perhaps the more pertinent question today is, taking into consideration all we have said in this video, who would you say is the better team of the 2 bitter rivals, Arsenal FC or Tottenham Hotspur? Let us know what you think in the comments. Please try to be unbiased as possible. While you do that, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That's all from Hattrick for now.